I received a call from one of the residents of Woodley that Charlie was kidnapped. So I called all my cousins and close friends as I drove down to Woodley.
David called me and told me he had just been abducted in the presence of the mother, and they are trying to follow the track of where the vehicle went.
10 minutes later, a fellow resident came knocking at my door and told me no, that Charlie had just been picked up outside his gates.
I think shocked is an understatement. Yeah, it rocked, the shock, vibrated throughout this whole Woodley, yeah, and everybody else, everybody who knows him, because I don't believe Charles was known even beyond Woodley.
According to the information we have, is that they pumped him with 12 bullets.
The prosecution of Kenya doesn't work at all. Okay. I don't make go innocent.
12 years ago, a human rights defender is shot and killed over a property tussle. Charles Soso was abducted by gunmen and later had him killed kilometers away from his home. The man, described as a gentle but a firm giant, was fighting eviction of tenants of Woodley Estate. Tonight on Case Files, the Woodley defender. Woodley Estate, that stretches more than 2 kilometers, is off the city's Ngong Road. The estate, initially largely owned and run by the City Council of Nairobi, has over the years changed hands, and its ownership is partly in the hands of county government, with some housing units having been bought by the first tenants on the piece of land. Samson Gashago, who in 2001 prominently featured in the news fighting evictions by the City Council, told Case Files, the Woodley saga, as it was commonly referred to in the 90s, has been a long-running tussle with no end ever in sight.
So me and Charles took it upon ourselves to actually do something about it. And we basically brought the whole issue to light through the media. And also we were gone to court, and we also communicated with the various government organizations to actually tell them that the whole sale of Woodley Estate was illegal, because it was done without the knowledge of the sitting tenants, who were actually meant to get first priority to buy these houses. And this went on until 1997. And in 1997, that's when the Parliament actually passed a motion, a unanimous motion, that the sitting tenants of City Council houses should be given first priority to buy these houses. But the illegal sale of the houses it persisted and went on. And
the battle was, however, not won without a gun incident involving his deputy organizing secretary, Charles Yao Sosa. Sam Gashago was at the time the secretary of the Woodley Welfare Society, an institution that rose up to fight against evictions. November 2000, individuals who had allegedly bought a piece of land at the estate attempted to evict garage owners, but the plan was met with fierce resistance. Sam Gashago says he and Charles Sosa were among the people trying to stop the unlawful evictions. Their action was not taken lightly.
Three months before Charles Sosa was murdered, the events were that Charles came to my house one morning, and he told me that they had been threatened by some, we were being threatened by a senior officer of the council that he was going to finish us. So we reported this matter to the police. And another incident was when another person tried to come and engage in some evictions in the estate, tried to evict one of the tenants, and a threat was also implied then. And we reported all these matters to the police.
In a fraudulent scheme, city council officials will collide with would-be buyers of houses, have them sold to them, and plan for evictions. The residents of the estate resisted several such evictions, but the resistance came with a costly price. On the 12th of February 2001, 4 months after Sam Gashago and Charles Sosa had formally recorded statements to the police over threats on their lives, Charles Sosa was to die under mysterious circumstances and in the hands of mysterious killers.
We went to Westlands, but when we went for the meeting, we were told that it had been cancelled. So we went for lunch and then we headed back, and we got here at around 5 o'clock. And we were dropped again outside my gate. And Mr. Sosa asked me to escort him down to his house, and because we were going to go and eat some nyama and play some pool. And so I escorted him halfway, because he lives around 300 meters from my house. I escorted him halfway, left him there, then came back home.
Charles Sosa's kidnappers, 4 in number, forced him into a waiting vehicle. Moments later, several gunshots were heard. The kidnappers only drove less than 2 kilometers from Charles Sosa's home in Woodley, asked him to step out of the car and directed him to walk away before shooting him.
David called me and told me he had just been abducted in the presence of the mother, and they are trying to follow the track of where the vehicle went. And I was also on duty. I was at that time working for USAID. So I told him, okay, I'm just getting a vehicle from a pool and I'm coming immediately. It didn't take long. Just about 20 minutes or 30 minutes, he called me and said he has just been gunned down. I said, I'm already on my way.
Ten minutes later, a fellow resident came knocking at my door and told me that Charlie had just been picked up outside the gate by people who had AK-47s. At that particular point in time, I didn't know whether to, I didn't know what I was just totally confused. So I walked down to his house. And as I was walking down to his house, there were some people walking from Oleodume Road. And they told me, no, your friend has been shot at Oleodume Road. So we got into a taxi and drove there.
I received a call from one of the residents of Woodley that Charlie was kidnapped. So I called all my cousins and close friends as I drove down to Woodley. And when I reached Woodley, I was told that there were some gunshots heard on Oleodume Road, and somebody had mentioned that they saw Charlie's body there.
Charles Sosa, described by friends as a gentle giant, had been killed. His killers were now at large. Those who got to the scene of the killing say they saw the last of a man who had fought so hard for the rights of a threatened neighborhood.
And that is when we found his body there. It had been lying there with a pool of blood riddled with bullets.
So I went there and I saw the body. I think when we arrived, he was just, he had his last few breaths and he died.
I arrived on the scene, I found he was still alive, but there was no way we could save him.
Who wanted Charles Sosa dead and why? Police detectives go down to unmask the faces and establish the motive behind the killing of the soft-spoken but firm Assistant Secretary of Woodley Welfare Society. Charles Sosa, a human rights defender, had been shot 6 times, most of the bullets on his chest and on his back. A few days later, police arrested businessman Kimani Kongo, who was also a KANU official. Emmanuel Kuria Wagathoni, at the time the director of city planning, surrendered himself to the police for questioning. The two had been arrested on suspicion that their threats on Samson Gashago and Charles Sosa had something to do with his killing 4 months later. Several witnesses were called in by the police to paint a picture of a killing whose motive it appeared was property, but whose perpetrators remained a mystery. A guard at the elite flats along Olodume Road told the police and the coast that he saw a vehicle pull outside the main gate to the estate, and then he saw a man emerge with an AK-47 rifle. The man was followed by a second man wielding a gun. The guard says he heard the man shout, "Shuka, Shuka." Sosa emerged from the car and 2 other men started pushing him back to the main gate. The men were asking Sosa who he thought he was in Kenya. Both men then opened fire on Sosa. The guard in his statement says he then saw one of the gunmen walk to where Sosa lay and remarked, "Hakaja kufa," before shooting him several times. The mother to Charles Sosa says she did not identify the people who abducted her son, but saw them drive away with the son. The mother says she tried pleading with the son's killers to spare him, but that appeared to have been ignored. The men were armed with big guns. In a rare trial, the Chief Justice at the time, Bernard Chunga, sat and had a petition filed by Kimani Kongo and Kuria Wagathoni challenging their murder trial. Documents marked as confidential had been leaked to the defense way before the hearing of the murder trial will commence. The Chief Justice constituted a 3-bench judge to hear a case challenging the trial of Kimani Kongo and Kuria Wagathoni. Someone had leaked a cover letter from the investigating officer informing the Attorney General that the evidence the police had collected was not enough to try the two for murder. The AG insisted there was enough evidence in the murder file. It is not clear how such confidential letters landed in the hands of the defense. Justices Samuel Oguk, David Remita, and Kalpana Rawal ruled that the AG had not overstepped his mandate or abused his office in charging the two with murder. The petition was dismissed and the trial of Kuria Wagathoni and Kimani Kongo kicked off. In July 2002, the trial of the city planner Kuria Wagathoni and businessman Kimani Kongo officially commenced before Justice Robert Mutitu. But Justice Mutitu had a full plate. He was at the time also handling the Changuli murder trial, in which 2 boys had been charged with killing of 67 students in a dormitory fire. After arresting Kuria Wagathoni, one of the key suspects in the murder trial, police investigators told the court he led them to a house in the city where they recovered 1 firearm. The same group drove to Waithaka and recovered 2 other guns. It is not clear why Wagathoni was carrying 3 guns at the time. At the scene of the shooting, police investigators collected 10 spent cartridges, the bullets having been fired from an AK-47 rifle. The trial of Kimani Kongo and Kuria Wagathoni will later run into murky waters. A witness claimed the statement he had penned his signature on was not the one produced in court. The witness had initially told the police he could identify the person who pumped several bullets into Charles Sosa's body on the day he died if he saw him or his picture. 3 months before the trial could commence, the witness says he saw the picture of Kimani Kongo and Kuria Wagathoni in the newspapers and immediately called the investigating officer with the news he could identify Kimani Kongo as the man who shot Charles Sosa. But when the witness appeared in court, the statement given to him to cross-check was not the one he had penned before. The investigating officer only referred to as Mwaniki. The statement had been changed and even the date on it was different. Who tampered with the statement? who wanted the statement changed and not to include crucial information that had placed one of the key suspects at the scene of Charles Sosa's killing. The witness had told the police Kimani Kongo was the man who finished off Charles Sosa before slowly walking back into the car. The witness says he penned the statement 2 days after the murder of Charles Sosa. The statement that was produced in court by the prosecution was dated 2 weeks later. Who changed it? The judge did not appear moved to compel the prosecution to produce the original statement penned by the star witness in the murder trial, commonly referred to at the time as the Kuria wa Gathoni murder trial. Another witness told the court he saw 3 people, with one of them pleading, "Don't shoot, don't shoot." The men were pointing their guns at the huge man. The man was Charles Sosa, pleading to have his life spared. A post-mortem report tabled before the trial judge, Justice Robert Mutitu, indicated that Sosa had been shot 6 times at close range. Kuria wa Gathoni told the court he was not behind the killing of Charles Sosa. He did not know him. Wa Gathoni told the trial judge he had his name in the news on the night Sosa was killed and decided to turn himself in to the police the following day. Kimani Kongo told the court he had bought a house in Woodley estate and he had at some point gone to the estate to inquire who was occupying a house he had already paid for. Kimani denied killing Charles Sosa, let alone having him threatened. As the trial came to an end, a crucial prosecution witness failed to appear before the court. Moniki, a police officer in the rank of an inspector who was handling the murder file, failed on several occasions to appear in court to give his side of the story. The defense was frustrated that Moniki was unnecessarily delaying the murder trial by failing to appear in court. The prosecution would later stand the court that Moniki had been sent on a peacekeeping mission to Kosovo. The prosecution had no choice but to close the murder trial without the evidence of the man a witness had claimed had tampered with his statement.
Witnesses were brought. I think there were 40 to 50 witnesses who were listed. 2 eyewitnesses who saw the incident gave statements to the police. Only 1 testified in court. 1 was never found. And the prosecutor and the court did not insist on the production of the second witness, the second eyewitness. He was a watchman at the gate of Ideal Flats, Ideal Apartments, where Charlie was gunned down, and he saw everything. The other one was a driver. I vaguely remember his name is Francis. I can't remember the other name, he was sitting at a gate nearby. He was a driver of one of the tenants in that area.
The judge was not moved either. Justice Mutitu did not demand the production of the witness in court, let alone demand to know why the statement of the star witness had different dates. Justice Robert Mutitu, who opted to resign and face the Justice Ringera purge, wound up the trial without the evidence from a police officer who was a key piece to the puzzle in the murder trial. On the 8th day of September 2003, 2 years after being arrested, Justice Robert Mutitu ruled that Kimani Kongo and Emmanuel Kuria wa Gathoni had no case to answer. The judge reprimanded the prosecution, which he said had failed to prove its case against the 2.
This room is somewhere. Okay. You want to see it? I don't know. This is just I'm talking. No, they come through the door. Okay. Let's go. It's a good place. Okay. Yeah, come on. We just want to hold it. Okay. I don't know go na murego. Sawa sawa. Mko data skose yake. Prosecution of Kenya doesn't work at all. Okay. Adumaika innocent.
Somebody did kill Charles Sosa, and that somebody is still out there, or some people did kill him and they are still out there. And as far as we're concerned, okay, the investigation was inconclusive. Yeah. And if some sort of justice can be done, can be delivered, well and good. Because it's painful to see somebody like that just go, just get gunned down.
One of those mysteries that we feel must be resolved, and if not resolved, at least some conclusive answer be given that this is how it is. We lost somebody in the process. Basically, for me, Charles was a martyr for this cause.
12 years on, the spirit of an activist, Charles Sosa, still lives in the hearts of those who knew him.
Is not the right forum for anyone to air political views, nor views of vindictiveness, vengeance, nor hatred.
So it was devastating. Let me not say shock. If there was any word that can emphasize shock in 10 or 100 times, that's what it would be. We were really devastated by his death. It rocked, and it was still there. We could still feel it, and we even feel it years after. His death really it was bad.
The family believes the killers walked away scot-free after eliminating a man who stood for what was right and just.
Very charming and he was very good in networking people around himself. And of course, very generous. Charlie can give you everything. Despite his size, Charlie was not a big eater. And if there was no food, he will not bother about the food. He will give it to somebody else and says, let that guy feed. We will sort ourselves out. That's how natural he is.
For me, Charles was, he was so involved in Woodley, and I think everybody in this Woodley can say that they interacted with Charles in one way or the other, because he was always willing, he was always there and always willing to be there, whatever the case, whether there was during good times, during bad times, he was always there. So we always have, I always remember him in good light.
12 years on, the standoff between County Council and the first tenants of Woodley Estate still persists.
It has been a saga that has been going on since 1994. And it still persists.
Charles will have been 12 years older today. The mother, whom the son told us is still disturbed about Charles Sosa's killing, stays indoors most of the time. For Charlie, as he was fondly referred to here, his spirit and memory still lives in the hearts and minds of the residents of Woodley Estate. Who pulled the trigger that claimed Charles Sosa's life? That is the question the family of 4 boys is still grappling with 12 years since the soft-spoken Sosa was gunned down. The Woodley defender is now a case officially filed. I'm Denis Onsarigo. Good evening.